Schönen guten Morgen, mein Name ist Dimitri Gärtner und ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob wir auf Deutsch oder auf Englisch weitermachen sollen. Deswegen vielleicht vorab eine kurze Frage. Für wen wäre Deutsch lieber? 30, 40%? Any English speaker here in the audience? 50%. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I'm not talking in English to all the Germans here. Perfect, so what is digital out of home and what is CTV? Like, this is not a lecture to explain it in detail, but it's pretty simple because it's digital out of home. Most people know what out of home is, and it's connected TV. Now here's maybe a small historical loop back when digitalization actually started. Let's look into the banking industry. There was huge digitalization which was catch up by PayPal. Later it happened to the retail, which is now with Amazon. Over time, travel with Booking. Then we had information and knowledge through Google. Nowadays, you're listening maybe to Spotify. And the digital disruption so far did not happen to the out-of-home and the TV world. Now, this is happening now. It's already happening since a couple of years. And this revolution might change the way how we see this medium, and it might also change the way how you can book it as an advertiser. Now, so far, CTV is already a 23 billion market, and digital out of home around 17 billion market. But the question is not where was it last year. The question is actually, where will it be in the next 2, 3, 4 years? It's growing at 35% year over year, and is expected to grow by another 33 billion and 25 billion in each category. Now, of course, this is changing, and digitalization is always changing markets. So as of today, you might see out-of-home and TV to be an industry that is around 30% of global media ad spend. The question is, what will happen after the digitalization? Now, the history has shown that new players actually are changing the power and are changing the way how advertisers follow the audience. Now, who will get the red new chunk? If you would follow that scheme, you would actually assume, well, it might be Google again, it might be whatever, TikTok, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon, etc. Now, this is just a scenario. And I think more players could participate in this game too. But what we also don't want is a Nokia moment for the out-of-home and TV environment. Now we need to change our perspective to stay in the driver's seat, right? So this 25 billion plus another 33, so more than 58 billion just by 26, which is in 2.5 years. Did anybody hear ever about Atmosphere or Loop TV? Raise your hand. Yes, 3 hands. Atmosphere, from a European perspective, is a digital out-of-home company which have screens in bars and different restaurants. And they're making their hundreds and hundreds of millions with CTV in US. Well, isn't that actually DOH? Why are they making millions and millions with CTV? Well, sometimes America is 1, 2 years ahead. And today I want to bring this awareness a bit to Europe. We've been multiple times over there. We try to understand what's the difference between DOH and CTV in this market. Now, these are 2 big players already over there. Now, let's dig deeper why to choose DOH and CTV. Because both have pros and cons. Some companies like JCDecaux are going further and further into this digitalization. You might have seen this example, which was 1, 2 weeks ago, where TikTok took their creators and expanded out of TikTok their campaigns into digital out-of-home. Well, that's already mixing budgets together into a new way that we haven't seen before. Now, obviously, digital out-of-home has a couple of strong points available in big cities. You can launch your product, get strong awareness, massive reach, and you can build a brand, right? But that medium is not perfect yet. For example, if you want to get a precise targeting and get the interest of the audience, or more context, what they're doing right now, or just run a video. Will not work with digital out-of-home as of today. Now let's look into the benefits of CTV. Well, CTV is pretty clear, strong in targeting and strong in reporting. It's very clear and contextual. You have content around it. You know what the people are interested in. It's cookieless, our favorite topic. So with CTV, obviously, you can be in the future with advertising regulation and standards. Big reach, and you have video. But also CTV has some issues. People are watching CTV when? In the morning, in the evening. That means high peaks. Limited inventory. More and more people are actually going into a subscription where advertisers can't reach their audience anymore. For FMCG brands, conversion is still something magical that is very hard to measure. And of course, as of today, it has a higher CPM than you might be used in online. Now, there's another thing. DOH is considered to be muted. Here's a creative that we received in our DOH network. But the same creative in CTV has sound. If you listen to the music, it doesn't add value. It's the same creative with music. Like, what is the stronger message here? So DOH and CTV is actually already pretty close to each other. But keep this in mind. I want to come up with this example later one more time. Now, the growing DOH and CTV market, with all its benefits and also its downsides, as of today, might be solved in the future, right? Now, who might solve this? Imagine somebody will solve this. And it might be done by GAFA. Now, what would mean, basically, if they would overtake the market? They're not waiting for it. They're already actively tapping in DOH and CTV. You can find out-of-home inventory already now on Google 360. And you can find, obviously, CTV demand already on Netflix. Netflix just opened last year a new plan where you pay less and you get ads. So the big players are already coming to this industry. And they are very strong because they have all one thing in common. It's just app only. Netflix doesn't send you an iPad. Google doesn't send you a smartphone. They're app only, and they're scaling very fast. And this is the strongest point. And if this keeps growing, as it's already growing in US, they will completely overtake the market, which I would say will result in a good morning. Let's talk about how we can actually stay in the driver's seat. There's 6 billion phones, round about 6 billion in the market. But there's one interesting thing to look at. Around 6 hours per day you spend on the phone. But you spend around 18 hours out of phone right now. So the question is, where do you spend the other 18 hours? Let's assume you're watching Netflix 1-2 hours per day, which is pretty a lot, but let's assume you're watching it. So on 1 billion devices, or up to 1 billion devices, Netflix can scale. But there's another 1 billion devices, which nobody's really looking so much into, which is the B2B, the commercial TVs, in hotels and restaurants and bars and cafes and supermarkets and universities. Think about a hotel. Like in every hotel room is basically a TV. And so we thought that might be wise to come up with an app-only 2 approach to connect the 1 billion TVs that are not connected yet properly. It's not an ecosystem that you can reach, like Netflix. This potential was discovered by Axel Springer. Axel Springer is a leading media house in Europe and also in the US. And it happened that they invested in FRAMEN 2.5 years ago. They have seen this massive opportunity of B2B commercial screens. And of course, we grow this concept over the last couple of months. I want to give you a quick update what happened. Axel Springer is overall pretty at the forefront of adapting new trends. For example, they have podcasts, and they tapped into digital out-of-home, and they're in CTV. Now, connecting all these different portfolios creates a new type of inventory where they can transform from print to screen, where they can tap into new audiences, where they can obviously be more independent on streaming the content and make it as viral as it would be with social. So they're reducing the GAFA dilemma. And at the same time, they're entering a new segment. You remember the red piece, digital out-of-home and CTV? We stream already today different type of Axel Springer contents, but this is now. So we're creating already content in the public screens. But next year, we expect much more publishers, much more content, much more creators to join this new era. Creators with gym on lifestyle might post content in gyms. So I'm trying to bring the topics together, DOOH and CTV, and the full power might actually launch in the retail media era. What does it mean in terms of retail media? We had a case with Edeka, for example, which were piloting FMCG products on their screens, specifically Edeka Nord here. And what you see is there's an advantage of a massive inventory. You see that people are interested in shopping. You see the context. They want to buy stuff, right? And you can run video because it's less limited. Plus, it's pretty even. There are no big peaks. Plus, the content that you see, so it's kind of a Netflix B2B that might reach the audience just out of phone. Now, especially for FMCG brands, we believe a big change has to happen. Retail media is a big, strong driver for this. But still, it's difficult to order an ice cream like Ben & Jerry's online and then wait to come. Unique economics doesn't make sense. So what FRAMEN wants to push forward is return on ad spend for the retail media. Stay tuned. We might come up next year with a very interesting programmatic way to measure the purchase of your campaign. You remember this example of sound on and sound off? We will bring now also sound to digital out of home. And we have the first partners that are joining and are streaming the music. While you're eating a burger, you get entertained, you see a content loop. This wouldn't happen in DOOH. We're already streaming commercial content, commercial news, commercial music into bars and restaurants, hotel lobbies. Well, this is super important for CTV. Might be even relevant for podcast. So at FRAMEN, we believe DOOH is not a standalone. Google has also a lot of different media budget bringing together. Also, DOOH and CTV will come together. And we believe somebody will solve it, and maybe it will be GAFA. But maybe there's also a place for newcomers that will support in growing this industry and make it easier and accessible for advertisers and more engaging for audiences. Available from September, our international inventory in all the different categories and venues will be live for DOOH and CTV. Thank you very much. I hope this was insightful.